Welcome to 5 Good Minutes. You're listening to today's inspirational message on the book of Mark with Kurt Bjorklund.
As we're talking about belief and unbelief, we now come to one of the more famous miracles in the New Testament, Jesus feeding the 5,000. And it's noteworthy that before Jesus feeds the 5,000, he says to his disciples, "Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And when they went away in a boat to a desolate place by themselves, or they did, and now many saw them going and recognized them, and they ran there on foot in all the towns and got there ahead of them. And he went on shore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them. And Jesus, you could say, is simply exhibiting here the idea that if you don't come away by yourself, then you don't have spiritual resources to face what you're facing. And there was so much to do, verse 30, because there were people everywhere, and there were a lot of people all around him, verse 31. A lot to do, verse 30, people all around them. And then there was opposition to what they were doing. So he says, "Come on away." And they got on this boat, and when they get to the other side, the people have gathered. And now they're there, and there's no food, and Jesus' disciples come, and they say, "Well, send everybody away to the surrounding countryside so that they can get something to eat." And we know that there are 5,000 men here, and verse 44 says that there are 5,000 men, and that is actually a gender-specific use of men. Often when you read men, especially in the ESV, it is a generic use of men, meaning it could be men or women. Here, it is the Greek word aner, which is not gender neutral. So what that means is either they're just counting men, and there's probably women and children, maybe 15,000, 20,000 people, making the miracle more impressive. But my read of this is that men here means that it was probably men, because there's another instance a little later where there's men and women and children. So men gathering means it was probably men who were getting ready for revolution, thinking that Jesus would be the leader to lead them out of the place where they are. And so Jesus says to his disciples, "You give them something to eat." And they say to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat? How many loaves do you have?" he says. "Go and see, 5 and 2 fish. So he commands them to sit in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups by the hundreds and fifties, which were also generally thought to be military companies. And he takes the loaves and he looks up to heaven and he divides it among them all, and they all eat and they're all satisfied. Now, we're not told exactly all that's going on in this moment, other than what we probably hear and see is that these men wanted Jesus to lead them politically, nationally, and Jesus gives them bread to eat, and they're satisfied, as if to say, "My kingdom is not the kingdom that you think it's going to be." And one of the places where people get tripped up on faith all the time is that they want Jesus to do certain things. They want church. They want God to do certain things in culture, rather than simply saying, what is God's agenda? And what Jesus does, if you see this chapter as being about belief and unbelief, and we don't know what I mean when I say we don't know even how much all of the men, if there were 5,000, could see Jesus did this out of just 5 loaves and 2 fish. We certainly don't know if after the miracle they all said, "Oh, we believe," or if they went away disappointed because Jesus didn't lead them in revolution. But what we know is that Jesus did not lead the revolution that probably these men gathered hoping he would lead. Instead, he feeds them and points them to his work that is beyond explanation. And so this is part of what we see in this account. And so today is Jesus meeting your expectations are falling short of them in some way. And if he's falling short of them, is it because you're projecting a cultural ideal onto what Jesus should do? Or are you willing to say his mission is inward, something different than what we tend to think?
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.